The new leader of Burkina Faso. And today I came across a clip where he has made education free from primary all the way to university.
You said something that got my attention about Captain Ibrahim Traore. I used to also fall for his hype. I am not a big fan of that particular gentleman.
With this statement of this young man on my left, he is saying that the information or news his brother on the right heard about Burkina Faso and Ibrahim Traore may just be media hype, that nothing is happening in Burkina Faso. And then he goes further to say, I am not a fan of the young man, Ibrahim Traore. Now, let us ask him one question. Why are you not a fan of Ibrahim Traore?
You know, first of all, I am not a fan of coups. I am a firm believer in democracy. For that reason, I am not a big fan of that particular gentleman.
Thank you for letting us know why you don't like Ibrahim Traore. It is very clear you have hate in your heart against Ibrahim Traore simply because you do not like the method with which he rose to power. This is a clear case of difference in opinions and views. We always say one man's food is another man's poison. I ask you, as you are in the house now with your fellow colleagues, if your fellow colleagues come up with an issue and you do not agree with their stand, you will dislike them. If you do that, tell me, how do you practice democracy? Does democracy say that we all must agree on something by fire, by force? There must be difference in opinions and views, and we must find a way to meet at a point. But with your likes, I'm going to advise your fellow house members to be wary of you, because you claim you are a Democrat, but you don't really know how to practice democracy. You are a blunt individual. If anybody does not agree with your views and standpoint, you dislike them. Likewise, you dislike Ibrahim Traore because you do not like the way and manner he rose to power. When some quarters we say we don't really understand the democracy that we claim we practice, you are a case study. Let us quickly reflect on the brief information you've given us so far. Your brother read a hyped information that may not be true. You dislike Ibrahim Traore and you don't like military rule. If your friend information is hyped, you have the valid information. Where did you get it? You said after research, you got to see them. Can you provide those information, those reports you saw that is the truth? Provide it for us. Let us see what facts are on those reports that made you condemn the views of your colleague in the house. That's one. Secondly, that so-called report that you may have, how did you get it? You don't like Traore, you don't like military rule. It is obvious you did not go to Burkina Faso to make investigation. Then, from where and how did you get the information that you have that you claim may be correct? Could it be on the same media that is hyped? How will your own be authentic and your colleague own is false? A question that demands or require an answer, and we are waiting. Now, let us see how Kenyan democracy has failed from the start. First of all, we learned that Kenya gained independence from Britain in 1964 and started a multi-party democracy. With time, those principles changed and the country moved to a single-party democracy. Ambassador Kamau explained that Kenyan democratization has not been smooth sailing. For instance, the 2007 electoral processes resulted in violence and a negotiated settlement. In 2017 again, we had again a Supreme Court decision that determined that the elections were not free and fair and called for a repeat. Presidential candidate then, Raila Odinga, withdrew from the re-elections, and then he went on to call himself the president of the people to president in one government. Ntero asked Ambassador Kamau what's her view on this and she responded, Africa doesn't need strong men, it needs strong institutions. My friend, you love democracy so much. If you remove 1964, when Kenya gained independence from Britain, from 2025, you have 61 years. Now, I want to tell you some quotes. If you are a Christian, you will hear of this quote where they say, how long shall you continue in sin that grace may abound? There's another quote that says, you can't continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. The third quote says, a fool at 40 is a fool forever. At 40, you should be able to say, this is where the direction of my life is going. Then you are not a fool. But if after 40 years, you still cannot determine where the direction or your future is heading, you are a fool. Now, 20 years after that 40, the benchmark, democracy is still a fool in Africa. And you that is also practicing the same democracy, you are automatically a fool. Does common sense not tell you that it is not working? What right do you have to dislike another person who have now said, no, enough is enough, I can't do this anymore? As a Kenyan, if you want to go to school in Britain or Australia or Canada, they will request you to do what is called English language test exam. Do you know why? Because English is not your original language. When something is not yours and you are practicing it, you are a second class. Democracy is not ours. It is obvious that we can never get it right because it is not our own originally. Does common sense not tell you that you have to go and look for that which is your own, that will work for you? And the man has now said, enough is enough of this useless democracy that is not working. You are saying you dislike him. For 60 years, you have not been able to put in place institutions that will tell you, oh, this is the direction Kenya is heading to. Kenyan people, I advise you guys, this man you see here has characteristics of a traitor. And if you guys let him rise to position of, say, president, you will remain in the same circle that you are. Kenya will never grow. Watch out for this man. Don't let him rise to position of authority. Else, you Kenyans suffer.